I'm here doing a job that I was asked to do by the federal government.
The federal government? This is a federal government. Looks like it says you're with Utah DNR.
I'm with the Utah Division of Wildlife. And we are doing the aquatic invasive species. We have been asked to do it by the federal government to stop the spread of invasive species.
Thanks for checking out this third and final installment of this series. In the intro clip of this video, a Utah field technician said the federal government had asked the state of Utah to do this to help prevent the spread of invasive species. I wonder why the corporate states of America would do that. Here's a clue. I'm going to show you a clip from my original visit to this checkpoint. This video ties in the program and how it's about protecting corporate interests.
If they get into our hydroelectric system that's in the Columbia River, you won't have electricity in the state of Washington. They've estimated that it's a $500 billion cleanup per year.
So why isn't Avista the company that benefits off those hydroelectric dams? Why aren't they paying for it?
They'll just make more money. You benefit.
We do have people that come in here on a daily basis. And we do have a local, again, one of the things that we're trying to do is not inconvenience the public. And so when we have a local boater program where we have people that are
that makes sense. That's a reasonable explanation.
We let them go through.
That is a reasonable explanation.
Eric's point about a local boater program is valid. However, there are a lot of lakes in the Coeur d'Alene-Spokane area. People go back and forth over the Washington-Idaho border weekly or monthly even. Why should all these no-risk boaters be stopped, even if just for a little bit, every time they want to go to a lake within 45 minutes of their house? Keep in mind there are at least 4 of these inspection stations in the area between Idaho and Washington. 3 of them are in Idaho, but you have to go through at least 2 to get to most lakes in the area from Spokane, which has the majority of the population in the area. 1 on the way out, and 1 on the way back. Here's another clip from one of my previous trips. Remember, the law only requires an inspection of the boats. Why do they always track us on these tablets, even if they don't inspect? I don't agree with these at all, but in the spirit of compromise, how about a sticker so boaters like the ones he mentioned can literally just roll on through the checkpoint?
You forgot to inspect their boats, man.
They've been on water since last summer.
It's all right. It doesn't say anything about answering questions in the RCW. It just says you're supposed to submit to an inspection, man. You guys aren't doing your job. You're supposed to inspect, not ask questions.
I have no comment for you. I don't consent to being filmed. Sorry.
You don't have a choice, brother. We've already talked about this.
If they get into the waterway, number one, the ecosystem's going to be, it could be drastically altered. It could
irreparably damaged. I understand what you're saying.
It will affect every power user in the state of Washington.
For sure.
So your bills could go through
for sure.
the roof. Washington is an agriculture-based state. What do they need for agriculture?
I know water, and that's what we've looked into too. It seems to be diverted. It's very important that this water get diverted to these.
And the thing of it is if these things start getting in, there's over 29 irrigation districts that pull water from the Columbia River system alone.
Correct.
Each single one of those serves dozens of farms.
I know, we looked into that.
These things, they cover and clog pipes and pumps so full that the whole systems get destroyed. So all of a sudden, your $1 loaf of bread from the Washington wheat farmer, now because of all the things the farmers have to do, now that goes up to $3 to $5.
I touched on this subject before. These checkpoints are the equivalent of the Patriot Act for outdoor enthusiasts. These scare tactics are used to cause a sense of dismay. I'm not saying prices won't go up if zebra mussels get in our dams. I'm saying sometimes things just happen. Species and humans adapt and carry on. This idea that somehow government can take away our rights and provide a safety net is ludicrous. As far as his $3 to $5 bread scare tactic, nice try. I actually have some experience in this area. Again, I'm not saying that prices for agricultural products served by canals off the Columbia River won't go up. I want to point out how he is using talking points handed to him like a good order follower. Most weed in Washington state is dry land farmed. What little isn't typically is fed off of wells. Either way, water pumped from the Columbia is used for very little wheat farming. Most of that water goes into orchards, grapes, soy, corn, etc. Things that require more water than wheat does. A lot of people use wheat products though. I won't even get into the fact that most of the wheat in this state is sold to China. It's evident, instead of questioning why the federal government is asking him to violate the inherent rights of ordinary people, Eric just follows orders, spewing out the talking points he has been taught.
Of course.
Okay. And then the other thing that comes into play is not only that, what about the municipal water supplies that draw, again, we have cities that actually draw the drinking water. And if one of those pipes gets plugged by these things, it's several $1 million to replace it. And then not only that, they do have some type of prophylactic efforts in it where they could put a heavier chlorine system, but that costs money, and then the citizens get really nasty tasting water on top of that.
I would like to point out, all of these municipalities he's speaking of, and really all of this stuff, is covered by insurance policies. The real crux of it is, some of our biggest government controllers, other than banks, are these same insurance companies. They don't want to have to fork over all this money to cover the cost of cleanup. It's much better for them to have all of us stop and be checked when using our boats. Follow the money, folks. Always follow the money. And I'm not a fan of putting things in our water, but I find it very ironic the same government that puts fluoride in most of our water is concerned about putting something in to kill these mussels.
We are trying our best, and this is, right now, the absolute most logical spot to inspect most boats coming in to try and stop these things from coming in. So
I agree with you.
If folks like you have other ideas to help us,
okay,
I would love to have it.
Okay.
But again, our purpose here is not trying to infringe upon people's rights. We're trying to do it as with as least amount of inconvenience as possible.
We're not trying to infringe on your rights. We are trying to do it with the least amount of inconvenience possible. Can you say cognitive dissonance? How can you not infringe on someone's rights, yet do it with the least amount of inconvenience possible? Now, I have offered some ideas and given them my contact information, and let's see how genuine he is about that offer.
His commentary was, oh, they're holding him up for 10 minutes. A lot of the people that come in here get out of the cars and talk with us. And again, because our folks are giving them information about these things. A lot of people do not know what seet and quagga mussels are. And after they find out, the 99% of the...
Yes, of course he's right. Especially when this interview took place back in May. Local boat traffic hadn't really picked up that much. And most people traveling with boats at that time were traveling longer distances. My observations were most were a little older. I know my dad likes to get out and stretch his legs every time we stop. The point of me saying that was they shouldn't have been forced to stop there. They should have been free to stop where they wanted to.
But I don't like officials not answering and then walking away when you're trying to make a complaint and then slamming doors and not identifying when it is your job to identify, and they can't tell me I can't put them on camera. Look that up.
Actually,
look that up, because that's 100%.
Actually, again, you can put them on camera.
Yes.
The thing in Washington, though, is, now I'm exempt.
Personal conversations, if it's within earshot, and I've looked into the case law on this because I do this.
Well, it's a two-party consent state.
Correct.
And so one of the things...
For private conversations.
For me, I'm a public official. I'm a law enforcement, so I'm exempt. You can record me all you want. But it's actually the state of Washington has afforded the protections of the private citizens to civilian employees.
For private conversations.
No, for civilian employees.
Republic is right on this. While it is a two-party consent state, meaning both parties have to give consent to be audio recorded in a private conversation, the relevant RCW on this is 9.73.030, and it refers to the recording of private conversations or communications, such as phone calls, emails, letters, or even in-person conversations held in areas not accessible to the public. In Fordyce versus Seattle, a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling that tested this Washington RCW, it was ruled filming in a public area where a third party could hear or intercept communications, Washington's two-party consent law does not apply. Is he trying to say civilian employees of the state have more protection in public than ordinary people? I'll let Republic finish. She sums it up well.
States it's about private conversations, and it is not, I mean, because we go into public buildings where there are employees of the state and they cannot say, they can't give me any kind of privacy suit or anything like that.
What they can do is they can say, because of the fact that Washington is a two-party consent state, to record the audio. And that's what I'm getting. You can record the images and the video all you want, but when it comes to the audio, they can say,
I think that we'll agree to disagree. I think you're misinterpreting the law, okay. But And my proof of that is no one's getting hemmed up or locked up when cops show up, and because they would be if that was the case. If that was a law that they actually could hem these people up on, I guarantee you they'd be hemming them up on it. Promise you. Okay. I promise you. Okay. So we'll just leave it at that. That's not my issue right now. It's not the recording. It's a problem.
I hope you put it in a person's shoes that is a technician.
I understand.
That doesn't make a lot of money. And
I understand.
Somebody puts a camera in their face.
I do get it.
You're violating citizens' rights.
I get it. I get it.
It's a little daunting.
Let me get this right, order follower. You send low-level technicians out, tell them to violate our rights, don't pay them much, and then tell me, because they're low-level and not paid much, I don't get to question what they're doing? I have a few words for that my mom wouldn't approve of me saying. So instead, let me show you the interaction he's talking about, and you decide if I had the camera in her face and acted like he said I did.
Please don't go in there. That's not open to the public.
Well, where does it state that? I don't see anywhere. It says police. Usually police is the lobby is open to the public. I don't state it. I don't see it stated anywhere. Are you mean?
We just don't. Normally they have it locked, but they've left it open so I can come in and out. So that's
all right. So how am I supposed to talk to this official over here? I mean,
I can help you.
I guess.
I'm one of those officials. I'm just somebody left.
That's understandable, but I'll respect that.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, I don't understand I understand the purpose of these, but they just kind of seem unlawful. I mean, it seems like it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment to me.
Why would it be a violation of the Fourth Amendment?
This demonstrates the problem with order followers. The idea is it's the order follower, the one just doing their job, that's the problem. There are very few at the top giving out the orders. There's a lot of order following minions to go carry them out. Unfortunately, it's the minions that we have to stop, or at least make them think. These captains and law enforcement officials are all bought in, hook, line, and sinker. We need to confront the ones doing the deeds. Besides, no one is ever available when I go to the headquarters or to the checkpoint except for these technicians.
Well, one of the things that we didn't even think about was the fact that we're sharing it with the citizens, that we could have people walk in
and walk across.
Where we got people towing boats coming in.
I get it.
And so that was one of the things we're like, we never even thought about.
I get it.
That's why we do actually have the safety zone, because a lot of people that tow boats, we don't know how they drive.
I understand his point about crossing the parking lot. I don't agree it's the government's job to protect people in that fashion, but I understand from his point of view. I have a problem with the way a large part of the park is flagged off for their safety zone. A huge portion of the area is grass. If it's about safety, they would flag off the whole driveway where the boats leave. There are lots of areas for pedestrians to cross the boat traffic there. I call BS. They have made it so you can't approach the workers at the station. They now have a shed that faces south into the sun with the back to the parking lot and a small window they can close if you approach and they don't like you. So they have effectively cut off any voice of dissent to these low-paid order followers. Honestly, I think it's pretty cowardly to put a bunch of low-paid seasonal workers on the front lines, then complain when people ask questions about what's going on.
Our intent is to try and protect the citizens and try to keep. Our number one is zebra and quagga mussel. We're trying to keep them out of the water. This is actually a citizen effort. There is a Washington.
I know there's a lot of citizen. I know.
Washington State Invasive Species Council. We actually had a citizen fact-finding committee to work through this stuff. So again, it's an effort that there is a lot of support.
Protecting the citizens? Now I'm in danger as well? Haha, I'm sure that's not what he meant, but he violates our rights, so I'm giving him a hard time on that one. I have no idea what he's talking about when he says it's a citizen effort. Look who is on the AIS Council in Washington. I guess he's right, they are all citizens. But look at the list. All but one happen to be citizens who represent federal, state, and county governments, partnerships, councils, and commissions who all work hand in hand with government and are supported by large corporations. The only one I would argue is representative of the sportsmen or recreational boat users is a guy from Trout Unlimited. The Citizen Fact-Finding Committee is a joke. I have a family member very invested in the outdoor sporting industry from another state. He went to some of the Citizen Fact-Finding Committee events in his state. After our conversation, it's clear he felt roughly the same as me. The government is looking out for the interest of corporations, not the individuals with these checkpoints. All these committees and councils are all smoke and mirrors to convince us they're looking out for us. The names imply as much. In reality, it's a group of special interests shaping policy and law. That concludes this series. I don't have all the answers here. I do know throughout the history of this planet, species have migrated, which affects the ecology of the new location. Sometimes it's a benefit and sometimes it can be disastrous. In the end, it's nature. Government, as much as it wants to convince us it can protect us, it can't. It's reactive by nature. When government decides to be proactive with security, the people suffer. These Fourth Amendment violations are all over, not just in Washington. Familiarize yourself with your state law, and by all means, don't answer any questions and film them. Make the order followers uncomfortable so they quit their crappy job. As always, like and share this video with all your friends. Subscribe to the channel and follow us on Twitter. Links to all my sources are in the description, and to those who want to see this unedited conversation Republic had with order follower Anderson, it's available on our channel. Or you can click the thumbnail now. Remember, always be on the lookout for questionable authority.